Welcome to another episode of DAFT, Dumb Apple Farmer Talks. The subtitle of this one is probably what happens when you don't go to church often enough. So a couple days ago, we're sitting there minding our own business, 30% chance of rain, and up comes a terrible, ominous black cloud, and the wind started blowing and didn't quit blowing. It actually blew sand like crazy. It felt like you were in the Sahara Desert in the middle of a dust storm. And then the rain came, of course. But the wind blew, it was a straight line wind, blew somewhere 80 to 110 miles an hour, they say. Sorely tested our trellis and our graft unions, and in some cases we won, and in some cases the wind won. This is a good example of where the wind won. And unfortunately, of course, this is the way it's going to happen, right? This is a variety that we love. This is golden russet. We've spent quite a few years planting golden russet, and we love them. It's a beautiful apple for cider, whether hard or sweet. Develops very high bricks, very high sugar levels. It ripens late. It is a russeted apple, so that means if I grab one here, it's going to have a lot of this kind of russeting. It gets better in storage. It just makes phenomenally good cider. It's a good eating apple too, crunchy, but it is very much on the sweet side, but also with a high level of acidity. So it's a very balanced, really, really nice fruit. And look at the dang things laying down like they're going to sleep. So you can see here what's happened. This tree has snapped right at the graft union. That's where I believe these are Geneva 11 rootstock, and this is the golden russet scion. And you can see where they were grafted together, and it always becomes slightly a ball, and that's often a weak spot, especially on a lot of this Geneva rootstock, and it just snapped them off right there. Some of them, it didn't snap, it just tipped them over. When you get enough momentum, even if the graft unions are strong, the whole trellis is wanting to go, and the ones that don't snap just break off enough roots that they go down too. I believe this is the 5th leaf on these. These trees are 5 years old, I believe. They're either 4 years or 5 years old this year. And yep, that's all down the toilet now. So we'll pick what we can off from these trees. The government, of course, is exceedingly smart and what do you say? They're always looking out for our best interests, so they don't allow us to pick up apples off the ground anymore because they're afraid we're going to get hurt or something. So that's all going to be waste. If you don't like that, which most of us don't, talk to your senator or representative if they're not out at some kind of party or something, and let them know that we should be able to do with the apples what we want when they lay on the ground. Yeah, we had a 4-wire trellis here, which is what we've gone to, and one of the lessons we have from here is that we probably need to add more posts as we go along. You know, it's recommended you go something 30 to 40. We've been doing the 40. We'll probably start going to 30 feet just because of what's happened here. And you can see some of this is rootstock. We could graft onto that if we wanted to, but we'll graft more trees. Golden russet are a big part of our interest going forward, and we will definitely be planting more of them as we go along here. You can see the drip line going along here. That's all in place. One of the things about apples as we go to replant this is apples have a complex of viruses that are jointly known as replant disease. So if you're going to go and stick in apple trees along here, you're going to have to keep in mind that unless you're going to take it out of production for a fair few years and cover crop it, you're going to want to plant a rootstock that is resistant to replant disease. And so most of the Geneva series that are coming out lately, the Geneva rootstock series, are replant resistant, and we will go with that. Here's a tag where we can see Yeah. Oh, these were on bud 9. So this is golden russet on bud 9. Budagowski 9 is what these were, which is pretty impressive actually, given the fact that there's the kind of growth that we have. So that demonstrates that golden russet is a vigorous variety, because grafted on top this very non-vigorous rootstock, probably one of the most non-vigorous that we have, it's resulted in still pretty good trees. But if we go down here, we'll see what these trees should look like and the kind of crop that they were carrying. And you can see it's a pretty reasonable crop. You can see some of these have gotten battered pretty good by the wind. I'm sure they were swinging around here pretty good. You know, that's on the end of a long branch, and they get beat up pretty good, but they're still hanging in there. So next to it, you can see the Roxbury russet in here, and you can see the kind of damage. The trees stood up, obviously, but this is the kind of loss that we have. We're estimating we lost somewheres 20 to 25%, maybe as much as 30% of the crop went to the ground, depending on the variety. As you can see, this is Roxbury russet on Geneva 11, and it's a really nice apple. It's got a lot of tartness to it, not a lot of tannins in it, but it makes a very nice hard cider indeed. Actually, good eating apple, good keeper. It's a winter apple, just like golden russet. Just a couple things to notice on this, so you can see the kind of vigor we got on this. We don't really fertilize much of anything here, a little bit in the foliars, but you can see we've got a solid 18 inches of growth. This is also a product of wind damage a lot of times. You get this along the outside edges. Those leaves really blow around a lot. So one of the things that we worry about after a windstorm like that is fire blight. We were lucky. We made the decision not to treat with antibiotics or anything after that, but normally, so fire blight needs 4 things to thrive. It needs the right temperature, it needs the right moisture, it needs the bacterial load, and it needs an opening into the tree. So we had the temperature, we had the opening in the tree created by all of these little micro creases and things that are caused by the wind. We certainly have a load everywhere around Iowa, has a load of the bacteria. What we didn't have is it dried up really quickly. So we feel like we're going to get by without any real problems that way because we're lucky. So better to be lucky than good. Yeah, so this is we got a couple of rows of cider apples specifically for hard cider. French and English bittersweet varieties. This is Dabinet, and they stood the storm pretty good. Although if you look back there, you can see quite a bit of drops. You know, they drop quite a bit. We've got quite a load on these trees, so dropping a few apples isn't going to hurt us that much, and that was just fine. But as we walked down, when I was out here right after the storm, I thought, wow, these all survived just fine. But what I failed to notice until I came through the second time is this problem. You can see what's happened. This tree has stayed right on the trellis. It's still upright and everything. But if you look down here, you can see the graft union is snapped and the tree just landed right next to it. And we see this throughout the orchard. There's inexplicable, you know, how this could happen. You know, like how did it happen to this tree? The tree right next to it is unaffected, and then the next tree is snapped off. The tree right next to it is unaffected, and the next tree is snapped off. It's like every other tree here. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Somebody's playing silly buggers with us or something. But yeah, these trees are foobarred. There can be no question about that. And this variety is Major, which is one that we kind of like. It's not a particularly great apple by itself, but it's a great blender for a bittersweet out of England. It's a great producer. It seems to produce nice sized fruit on an annual basis. Doesn't seem really susceptible to fire blight. It looks pretty good. So we're sad to see these What did we get? We got, looks like about half of these trees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 out of 10 died. So there you go. Go to church. You can see the, what is this? Roxbury russet, that's right.